In 1859, Brunel's railway bridge across the Tamar at Plymouth joined Cornwall to Devon and broke the age-old isolation of Cornwall, making it easier to explore this almost unknown region. Soon the Cornish Riviera Express was bringing increasing streams of tourists as far west as Penzance, to the sun and the sea. Today, to many thousands of holidaymakers, Cornwall means simply sea, sun and sands, where you build your own private 2 yards of beach. If the weather gets a bit Cornish, then there are the quaint fishing villages to wander in, where you can find all you want in the way of souvenirs and snacks. And of course, there's an unfailing supply of ice cream. Today, crossing the Tamar beside Brunel's masterpiece, an elegant road bridge leads the motorist into Cornwall and gives him the opportunity to see the enduring Cornwall that lies awaiting him on the other side of the broad Tamar. Soon you could find yourself standing alone on Bodmin Moor. Nothing could be more friendly when the moor is in benevolent mood, with Brown Willie and Router, the highest hills the duchy can provide, keeping watch over the granite spine of Cornwall. But you are soon reminded that you're in a land of legend. One version of the Arthurian legend tells us it was by a stream at Slaughter-Bridge that King Arthur fought his last battle, and the fallen stone and inscription mark the spot where he fell, mortally wounded. To nearby dark Dosmery Pool, Sir Bedivere brought the dying king with his bright sword Excalibur, which Sir Bedivere hurled into the dark, still waters, to be caught by an arm clothed in white samite, and raised 3 times in salute to the fatally wounded Arthur, before disappearing forever beneath the water. Legend? And yet, if you go to the hills near Tintagel, you'll find a waterfall beside which St. Nectan built his hermitage 1,500 years ago. If you follow the stream into the valley, you'll find 2 carvings on the rocks. We know this pattern as the labyrinth, and it's to be found all over Europe. It's as if people who passed this way thousands of years ago wanted to tell us, see, we were here. At the eastern edge of the moor, a Celtic cross of the 6th century heralds Oltarnon Church. Granite churches are rooted in the Cornish soil. With the passing years, they grew into the low-built stone buildings we see today, as if crouching from the Atlantic gales with their massive square towers 100 feet high, defying the tempests. The present church, the Cathedral of the Moor as it's known, was built in the early 15th century and takes its name from St. Nonna, a Celtic nun missionary who passed through Cornwall in the 6th century. One of the few remains of the 12th century Norman building is the font, still showing signs of the paint they used to decorate it. The Normans were great improvers and made the churches more godly, but you can still find Celtic crosses in many village churchyards. Churches on the exposed headlands, as at Tintagel on the north coast, were used by sailors as landmarks, and constant gales made it necessary to shore up the tombstones to avoid them getting thrown to the ground by the ferocity of the wind. But those who built the little 15th century church at Cornwall decided against any high tower and used a cave separate from the church itself as a basis for a bell tower. As you move west, it won't be long before the first derelict tin mine rises gauntly against the sky. Powerhouse and chimney, all that is left. The Cornish had been mining lead and tin long before Roman times. Hard-muscled, hard-bitten and hard-drinking men, prosperity came for 100 years, when their tin and copper were in demand all over the world. But in one decade, that prosperity was over, and the mines were abandoned to decay. Tin became cheaper in the rest of the world. The tin was still there, but one after another the mines were closed down. With nothing to sell, the miners took themselves, their families and their skills abroad to countries like Australia, where they were welcomed. In one decade, 30,000 people left a county whose total population was only just over 300,000. Mine workings went on under the sea, and a solitary working mine still continues today, turning the water red with rust as if in memory of forgotten greatness. The Cornishman has always had an affinity with mining, and at Delabole near Tintagel, a slate quarry has been worked for over 450 years. It's the only large quarry in England and is now over 500 feet deep and a mile in circumference. This area underwent the huge geological disturbance at the time when the granite mass of Bodmin Moor was formed. The resulting heat and pressure caused the bowl of clay rocks at Delabole to be changed into slate. In its heyday, the late 19th century, 1,000 men were employed, but cheaper roofing materials hit the slate trade, and now there are less than 100. Delabole has provided slates for most of Cornwall and was exported worldwide. Today, roofing slates are still split by hand, as they have been for centuries, with a wooden betle or mallet and a wide, slender chisel. Roofing slates come in many sizes, with unlikely names such as ladies, duchesses, queens, rags, and imperials. After a long decline, the quarry is well on the way to recovery. Cornwall's coastline is immensely long, some 320 miles of mostly rugged cliffs. The sharp rocks, which lie near the shore, so clearly seen at low tide in calm weather, have ripped open the hulls of every kind of craft, from fishing boat to liner, and provided the locals with unexpected bounty. There is a Cornish prayer which goes, "Lord, let there be no shipwreck." But if there must be, let it be here. Lighthouses guard the unwary around the coasts, but still the wrecks occur. Lighthouses are a welcome navigational fix for passing vessels, and their foghorns boom out warnings in bad visibility, and the light shines out its guiding beacon at night. Fishing the turbulent waters around the coast has always been a lifeline against poverty, but happily, as the mines died, the seas seemed to fill with pilchards, and a new prosperity began. Special huts were built at vantage points around the coast, since the shoals came so close to the shore that they could be spotted from the cliff tops, and the watchers, hewers as they were called, could lead the boats out to the shoals. Once again, there was a booming export trade. Little harbours all round the coast became busy, the villages grew, and more quays were built to handle more and more boats. The harbours are still there, but the fishing fleet is not. The hewers' huts are still there, but they no longer call out the boats because the pilchards vanished almost overnight, leaving behind distress like the mining disaster. With one difference: no one wants to hire out-of-work fishermen. From Bodmin Moor with Brown Willie and Router, the granite spine stretches to the western tip of the county at Land's End, but is most predominant on the northern side. Outcrops of granite are everywhere to be seen. Huge granite boulders from the days of volcanic formation are left lying on the surface. Everywhere, granite, even to the cliffs and fields towards the sea. And the only flat and fertile soil is farmed between hedges of solid granite boulders. Moving further west along the road, a view reminiscent of the Swiss Alps can be seen. At the top of a massive white pyramid, miners' trucks are emptying more waste onto vast spoil heaps, the unwanted portions of decomposed granite, separated in the pits below with high-pressure water jets. After the volcanic eruptions, as the molten magma hardened, gases in the parent granite escaped, and as they did so, they decomposed it back to its three constituents: sand, mica, and china clay, which is the one wanted for ceramic manufacture. It may be desolation, but it's an exciting desolation, and already vegetation is growing on the abandoned workings. It was the south coast which gave the county the popular advertising catchphrase of the Cornish Riviera, which started to bring the holidaymakers into its midst in the 20s and 30s, and which was to turn into a flood in later years. The Helford River, with its wooded banks, had been as much of a paradise for smugglers in the past as it is for yachtsmen today. On the banks of the Carrick roads, which lead the River Fal past Falmouth to the sea, lies St. Just in Roseland. The legends which grew up around King Arthur suggest that Sir Geraint, one of Arthur's knights, was king of Cornwall in 520 AD, and he had a son called Justin, who was probably the St. Just who gave his name to St. Just in Roseland. There was certainly some sort of church here as early as 550 AD. During work being carried out early this century, they found a Roman coin from the reign of Constantine, buried in the rubble. As H.V. Morton has said of St. Just in Roseland, there is a church in a churchyard which is one of the little-known glories of Cornwall. Further west along the coast near Penzance is St. Michael's Mount, a strange place that has played its part in the Cornish legend. It had what is believed to be one of the oldest of chapels and had a giant of its own. The Cornish believed that giants once roamed the countryside and that one was caught and buried on St. Michael's Mount. In the monks' pews in the church, there's a secret door which opens to the dungeons, where in days gone by political prisoners were kept. During the last century, the skeleton of an 8-foot man was found there. The giant of the legend, perhaps. The mount was given by Edward the Confessor to the Benedictine Abbey of Mont Saint-Michel in Normandy, which is almost its twin. It was in the 12th century that a church was built on the chapel of much earlier years. There is a true story about the mount which shows that something out of the ordinary happened many years ago. It was once 6 miles inland. This change of sea level adds interest to the legend of Land's End, but that some great catastrophe buried 140 parishes. Geologists tell us that thousands of years ago, the group of islands which make up the Isles of Scilly was once a single island. Even the Roman writers used Scilly in the singular. Then a geological tilt caused the land to sink, and the peaks alone remained to form small islands. Ancient walls can be seen at very low tides. And there are urn burial chambers like those found in West Cornwall. This history adds to the Lyonesse legend and their one-time joining to the mainland. The Isles of Scilly, sometimes called the Blessed Isles, owe their present attraction to one man, Augustus Smith, a man of determination and ability who took over the lease of the islands in 1834. A great botanist, he fashioned the island of Tresco to his own design and set about creating the Tresco of today, a botanist's paradise with trees, shrubs and flowers from all over the world. Choosing Tresco as his home, he built a house on the site of the old abbey. He obtained seeds and plants from the Royal Botanical Gardens at Kew, and island seamen returning from voyages to foreign ports brought him ever more exotic varieties. To spare these delicate species from the Atlantic gales, he planted huge windbreaks of Monterey pine. The islanders were settled mainly on St. Mary's, which soon blossomed with daffodils and tomatoes for the mainland markets. But for Augustus Smith, his true love was for the gardens he created on Tresco. Returning to the mainland at Land's End, here on the final granite bastion of West Penwith Moor is written the long history of the Cornish people. West Penwith has one of the greatest concentrations of prehistoric stone monuments in the British Isles. Menhirs, standing stones, dolmens, vaulted stones. And the curious stone with a hole in it. People to this day still crawl through the hole 9 times to bring them blessings. What do these stones mean? Were they put there by the same people who left the labyrinth engravings in Rocky Valley? And were they the same people who built the prehistoric village at Carnuni? Houses first built of timber and later stone, this colony has a remarkable structure. From the houses, an underground passage over 30 feet long led to a fogu, which is Cornish for a cave. Why? Was it a hiding place? Or was it to serve an unknown cult of magic? The Celtic crosses which were left by Christian priests from Ireland in later years were not crosses in the true sense, but granite menhirs adapted to the new faith on which the Normans founded their granite churches, whilst leaving both crosses and stone monuments in the fields. And while we ponder and wonder at the meaning of these stones and the civilization which left them, what will future civilizations make of the modern magic coming from the giant metal bowls pointing to the sky on Goonhilly Downs? Now in the autumn, with the mists rising out of the valleys, softening the gaunt hills of Bodmin Moor, the picturesque fishing harbours are given back to the villagers once more, to live in peace and quiet. And the long empty sands where lately thousands thronged the beaches now lie quietly, awaiting the fury of the winter gales which will assuredly come with brutal force. suddenly, Cornwall ceases to be the summer playground and becomes the granite island that tests a man's faith in himself and his legends. As you find yourself again on Bodmin Moor under the shadow of Rowter, unless Cornish blood runs strongly in your veins, you would do well to rejoin your friends the holidaymakers in England and leave the Cornish to their legends and their dreams.